Yo, what's good, everybody? It's your boy E Double here, aka Eric West, and I do believe this is going to be our very first Yu-Gi-Oh video on the Homeboys channel. So, without further ado, let's get it started. Alright, so today I'm going to be breaking down for you guys the brand new mechanic that was just revealed earlier today called Link Summoning. Link monsters are these dark blue cards that go in your extra deck, so don't worry, you're not going to have to drastically change your deck profiles, none of that shenanigans. They do go in the extra deck. A few unique features of these new Link monsters. They do not have a level, they do not have defense points, because these monsters are strictly aggro. They weren't meant to play any sort of defense, not that the meta cares anyways, meta don't really play defense regardless, and these monsters cannot be switched into defense position. Next thing is they have a thing in the bottom right corner called link numbers. So a link number is how you know how many monsters you're going to need in order to link summon a monster. We're going to go ahead for this example and take Decode Talker, since he is the ace monster of the brand new protagonist of the show. So Decode Talker has a link number in the bottom right corner of 3, meaning you're going to have to send from your field to the graveyard a total of 3 effect monsters in order to link summon Decode Talker. Now, there's also, to point out, the red markers along the border of the card artwork. There's a total of 3 of them. These red markers are going to tell you how you can go ahead and summon more extra deck monsters. And I'll get back into that in a second. So the next big change, on top of this new summoning mechanic, which is one of, right? It's not like Pendulum, broken as hell, where you can vomit out an entire field of monsters. This is just like the other summoning mechanics where it's one at a time. The field has changed so that Pendulum zones are now integrated with your spell and trap card zones. Now, this doesn't mean that people only have 3 spell and trap card zones and then the Pendulum zones. You still have all 5 spell and trap card zones. But this is so that people don't have such a giant disadvantage dueling against Pendulum decks. So if I'm going to be running Metal Foes, Odd Eyes Magicians, or whatever the hell, and I want to go ahead and place a card in my Pendulum zone, cool. All that means is that now I have only 4 cards available in my spell and trap card zone. Now, if I wanted to get crazy, make some very big plays the way that those type of decks usually do, and I wanted to go ahead and set my scales, that means that I'm going to be reducing myself to only having a total of 3 zones for spells and traps, which I would say is pretty balanced in these type of duels. Those Pendulum decks, as you've seen from Pepe formats, or even after that, even with the Pendulum decks watered down, have still been pretty broken as far as how they can gain card advantage. So this is actually a pretty nice integration they have going on here. Next thing is there's 2 monster zones now. So everybody's used to the 5 slots, where monsters are placed. That has not changed. This is now called the main monster zone. What has changed is there's now a slot above that, 2 slots, and these are called extra deck zones, or pardon me, I believe they're called extra monster zones. So the extra monster zones are where monsters from the extra deck now go. Meaning if I were to fusion summon, if I were to synchro summon, or Xyz summon, these monsters go into that one zone. These zones don't actually belong to any specific player. So nobody owns either one of the zones when the duel is started. Then, if I were to go ahead and play Stardust Dragon, I can pick either the left or the right zone to play him in, and then that zone is now mine. In order to keep the game obviously fair, only one player can control one extra monster zone at a time. So you're probably thinking now, great, what if I'm playing Black Wings? How am I going to go ahead and swarm the field with all my powerful ass synchros if I only can play one synchro monster? This is where link monsters come into play. So ideally, what you're going to do is you're going to go ahead and summon your link monster into your extra monster zone. And now, going back to those red markers that are on the card artwork, Those are going to be pointing to other monster zones. It's going to be pointing to a total of three: one on your opponent's side of the field, two on your side of the field. And the ones that the markers are pointing towards, it's your link monster is basically saying, hey, in these three zones on the field, these both players can now summon extra deck monsters. So if I went ahead and played my link monster on the right side, then the two monster zones directly diagonally below it on the left and the right can now have my Exceed, Synchros, Fusion, whatever. Doesn't that matter? Or I can even play another Link monster in one of those two zones. So I can, in fact, have more than one Link monster on the field at a time. And so this is going to change the game, not just by making it slower, but it's also going to make it so that people in the competitive scene have to very carefully think about where on the field they are placing all of their cards at. Because if I flood my back row, I'm not going to be able to use my pendulum scales at all. And if I put my link monster in the wrong zone, maybe I already have monsters in that side of my field. Now I can't summon from my extra deck because those monster cards are actually flooding my field. They are clogging it. Um, I do believe that's all that there is to link summoning. So thank you for watching the video. If there's any more information that comes up, I'll be sure to try and do an update video on that. And without further ado, see you later.